Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. A lot of you have been attacking with your comments, and I understand the point of where you're coming from. I understand your view, but I also need you to understand my view. I made a video sometime why explaining why I beat my children. But then I want to talk from my own perspective as a child. Yes, before you say me beat my child, I have also been beaten. This is no news to Africans. That is the only way our parents understand the word discipline. There are different measures that African parents take when they want to discipline their children. There is what we call the frog jump, there's what we call the pig pin, there is what we call the sit up. Some parents even starve their children. To me, that is quite extremist, that is quite too far. Speaking from the child perspective, I think from the time I could remember, my mother actually started flogging me, beating me at the age of 13. This was because I didn't live with her. That is from my own. When I was 6 years old, I was moved to my grandmother's house in the village, so I had to stay with her. My grandmother actually didn't beat me, but there were things she did that I would consider child abuse than beating me. For instance, if I do something wrong, she would ask me to bring water, and when I bring the water, she pours it on my face. Pouring water on my face was rather violent. My uncles also beat me because, of course, children will always be children. So my uncles beat me. I think one of the reasons why they beat me was because I slept and I poo on the bed. No, was it even bed? It was mat. It was a mat we used by that time. And I just messed the place up, and I was about 8 years old. My uncle got firewood. He gave me the beating of my life with that. So for me as a parent, I would consider that also child abuse, because how can you beat an 8-year-old with a wood heavy enough to make him make, right? That was quite abusive to me. But to other kind ladies or women, they may not consider it that way. You guys, I know you've not seen me. Full face makeup. I have another professional channel that I teach fashion, beauty, lifestyle. So I'm going to link that channel down below if you want to check it out. Okay. So back to what I was saying. Fast forward to 2 years later, I was 10 years old. My mother came and picked me from my grandmother's. At age 10, I was expected to cook. At age 10, I was expected to know how to tidy the house, sweep, clean, do what an 18-year-old literally could do. My mother was so hard on me, and my mother was such an impatient woman. Backstory from her own mother, they were beaten like criminals. Like her mother would put pepper in the eyes, put pepper in sensitive areas, private parts, and beat you up. So the best way she could also get us disciplined or make us obedient was to transfer the learning, what she learned from her mother basically. So anytime I commit an offense or I disobey her, the next thing my mother will do is to get fresh pepper or dry pepper, mix it with water, put it in my eyes. If you're wondering, yeah, I don't remember her putting it in my private area. Maybe she did, but I'm trying so hard to remember. I don't think she did that. She just put it in my eyes, but her mother did that to them. Put pepper in your private area, you know what it means. That was serious, terrible torture. She will put pepper in your eyes, and then she will tie your hands at your back, tie your two legs together, and then you are standing and watching. The first time my mother gave me this type of beating, I was 13. And what was my offense? She sent me on an errand and I delayed or something like that. She tied my legs, tied my hands, and she will push you. And then you fall to the ground. She's going to time herself. My mother will not say, oh, I'm going to flog you 10 lashes or 15 lashes or 20 lashes. No, she will tell you, this is 12 p.m. and I'm going to flog you from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. And then she will on the stereo to the loudest volume, and then she will flog you. All your bodies must have bruises, face to your neck, to your hands, to your legs. And mind you, she's beating you naked. You heard me right. My mother did that to me, and not just me, most of my immediate siblings, naked. So I I consider this the height of torture my mother gave to us. We were tortured, and the neighbors will talk to her. Everybody was talking to her. Madam, the way you're treating these children is not right. It's so unfair. It's extreme. African mothers beat their children, but my mother deserves an award for being the most toughest child beater. So she will tie my legs, she did such terrible things to us. And anytime I look at the bruises, I just felt bad. And I felt, was this actually my mother? Why would she do such a thing to us, to me? And for the offense, I don't think it's worth this level of gravity of beating. So it continued that way until I was 17. The beating didn't actually stop. I think I was so scared one time my mother wanted to beat me that I held the cane. She literally broke my hands. She always makes this statement that I gave birth to you and I have the right to take your life. That was her lines, and she never misquoted herself. Because of the primitiveness and the community we were in, the ghetto life and all that, we just saw our mother like a demigod. We didn't want to do otherwise. Whatever she says is the final. In fact, at some point, we feared her more than we feared her dad. The sound of her voice, everybody is running. You have to get yourself fixed up, you have to put things in place, you can't just mess up, okay? So that was the kind of training that I had as a parent, as a child. Now, growing up, I told myself that I was not going to treat my children the way that I was treated. But then, my first child is a male, a boy, a very well-behaved one. All my children are well-behaved. But children will always be children. The very first time I beat my son, I think it was around a year or so, or less than a year. And what made me do that, he was going to touch the electric socket in the house, and I warned him, don't do that. But children are always curious and inquisitive, and he did it. So the only way I could pass the message as a mother was to spank his hands. So I used my 2 fingers and I spanked his hands, and he cried, but he never went back. And he stuck. I'm like, wow. So if I use spanking at this age, then my child obeys. I'm going to employ my mother's ideas, but not to the extreme part, not to the extreme, right? So I started. I think the very first time I gave my son real beating was when he was about 3 years or so, close to 3 years. I was pregnant with his sister, and he would not just let me rest. That boy was just a stressful child. So I kept beating. Then when they grew up, I started increasing my discipline. I was using light cane, light slippers, light. So the more they advance in age, the thicker the instrument of this. Right now, I use something, and the way I beat my older son, I've said this before, who is 11, will be 11 by September this month, and my daughter is already 8, and the third one will be 4 by November. So the level of gravity of beating or spanking or whatever you call it that I give to each and every one of them is unique to their age. So, but the backstory is, this is the only way I know best to handle children, because that is what I was exposed to, okay? That is what I was exposed to. In fact, my mother doesn't even flog you. There are more severe punishments, like picking pin for hours, and then she's holding cane by her hand. If your leg is not straight enough, she's going to flog you, waking you up in the middle of the night to fan her while she's sleeping. It's better you beat me as an adult, beat me as a child, than giving me corporal punishment. You're sleeping and you're telling me to fan you, and I'm awake fanning you while the adult is sleeping and the child is awake fanning you, So terrible things, so much terrible things. How my mother did that, and how I was batterly abused as a child, how my mother abused me, and this affected my way of treating my children. Our mother was not a good role model, and it affected me in a very great way. I'm just coming here to admit to it. I was abused as a child, and I am an improved version of my mother. I'm not proud of what my mother did to me as a child, because regardless, a child I'll be usefully abused. Now, why do I beat my children? I beat them because they have something to remember me for, that mama said don't do this. I feel that in Africa, just telling people with words not to do something, they that boy.
I see myself here and see myself here.
That's good. So, telling a child to do or not to do something just like that, some children find it difficult to obey until you lift your cane. Oh, can I continue my video? Please. Please. You're distracting us.
Continue.
Okay, he said I should continue. I hope he's not going to be a distraction, so I'll continue. Let's see. What was I saying? He said that so some children in Africa will not respond instead to beat them. And so I spank. I spank my children. I give them light corporal punishment. And my spanking them is not every day. My mother does that. There is no week my mother will not beat. I can spend a whole month I don't touch my children. I can spend 3 months I'm not beating them. Okay, but the day I remember to beat them, it will still not be as grievous as the one my mother did to me. So yeah, I just felt I should come up here and say this to those of you that are always on my case for beating my children. All right, and now you see it from my own perspective, and you see, yeah. All right, this mama is healing. This mama is recovering. This mama is helped by God. This mama is influenced by God. And if you are other African mothers that have been through what I've been through, yeah, you want to grow, let's grow together. Follow, subscribe, join in the fun, and I love you all. I will see you in our next video. Bye.